Hello, this is Scott with Rizzo Controls, and this video is about history extensions. Where we're going to begin today is in Scott's Cool Station. What I want to trend under my BACnet network, under my AirHandler1 device, under its points, is going to be space temperature and occupancy in. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can establish when and how to make a record when we're talking about history extensions in Niagara. The first way that we'll talk about is based on an interval. Based on some interval of time, say every 15 minutes, we'll make a record of space temp. For the occupancy in point, we'll make a record based on a change of value. Now, as a rule of thumb, generally speaking, if there's a value of a point that changes frequently, like outside air, we could trend that with interval. And if we care about when the value changes, say a status of a hot water pump, we'll make that record. The major benefit to this is data optimization. So we don't use memory and make a record of, say, a hot water pump in the summertime when it's 100 degrees every day. It doesn't make sense. We know it's not likely to run, so there's no need to use that memory. Today, I'm actually using a developer version of Niagara Workbench at 4.15. However, this has been the same approach since Niagara AX. Where I'll begin is with the space temp for my AirHandler1 controller in my nav tree. And I'm going to open up my history palette sidebar. In my history palette sidebar, I'll expand the extensions folder. And these extensions are organized by their point type: Boolean, numeric, enum, and string. Because my space temperature is a numeric point and I want to make that record at an interval, I'll click and drag that numeric interval right over that point space temp so it gets highlighted in white, and I'll let go of my left click. I think that point extension name's a great name. I'll click OK. And if I expand space temp, there that numeric interval is. I'll go to its AX property sheet, and we're going to configure some things here. The first thing we're going to configure is the history name. And there's going to be a video more about B formatting, but in this case, I want you guys to accept that the parent.name using B formatting will be across this colon in our path bar one time. Every time I go to the left over a colon there, that's one parent. I will leave a link to a B formatting cheat sheet in the description of this video. So my history name will just be space temp in this case. I'll expand the history config and decide how many records I want. If I want 500 records, keep in mind we can do how many hours that's worth, right? 4 records every hour, 500 divided by 4. We would get about 125 hours. If we divide that by hours in a day, it's less than a week worth of trends at 500. So maybe I want to increase that to 700 records. I wouldn't recommend making it in the thousands as far as a JACE is concerned. It's going to consume more and more memory. If I go a little lower in this AX property sheet, there's the interval. If I want to make a record every minute or every 15, I'll do 1 minute in this case to show you rather quickly what this trend is going to look like. I've got some things highlighted in red. I'll click save. And the last thing I've got to do here is just enable this. And I couldn't use this enabled property to make it true, and it would make its first record. At the end of this video, I'll show you how to do more than one history extension in the history service. So as far as the numeric interval history extension on spacetemp is concerned, that's totally complete. Now we're going to go down to occupancy in, and we're going to add a Boolean change of value. If you weren't sure if that was a Boolean point or not, the green B should give it away. So I'll click and drag my Boolean change of value history extension from the history palette sidebar right over occupancy in. And I'll click OK. Just like before, I'm going to go to the AX property sheet of this Boolean change of value, and I'll configure the history name. I'm going to complicate the history name just a little bit here. And if we know that going across 1 colon is 1 parent, then going across 3 would be 3 parents. And the way that we'll describe that here in the history name is parent.parent.parent. It's 3 parents. I'll write display name. And that'll grab just air handler _1. And we don't have to use B formatting in a history name. If I wanted to put a regular string value like an underscore here and then write awk in, I could absolutely do that. Under history config, we have a capacity. I'll leave it at 500 for now, and I'll click save. Like I told you guys, I'd show you how to batch edit and enable all of these history extensions from the history service. So I'll scroll up in my nav tree sidebar. Under config of my JSON, under services, there's a history service. If I double click that, I'll actually see a bunch of trends here, and I only want to enable space temp and occupancy in. I'll right click those and enable collection. And now those trends exist under the history root container. So I'll clean up my nav tree a little bit and collapse services and collapse drivers. I can even collapse config and then expand history. The name of my station is Scott's Cool Station. And here's air handler 1 awk in and space temp. I can double click it to view that trend. I can also double click space temp, and as these records are made, it will actually update. Ta-da!